This is Computer Insider, Canada's award-winning television series with Bob Pritchard. This week, we look at personal digital assistants as they grow to become wireless, interactive, and much more versatile. Later, we'll see multimedia training tools as used by the Peel Regional Police. This week on Computer Insider. Computer Insider is brought to you by AST Computer. You'll like the way we work. Sharp Electronics. From sharp minds come sharp products.
Thank you very much for joining us this week on Computer Insider. Well, it seems that the high-tech rumor mill has gone rampant with stories about Apple Computer. Basically, they say there are three scenarios open to Apple. The first is they remain an independent company like they have in the past, and that's very good for them because they're fairly solid financially. Other comments, though, say that IBM and Apple are working on developing a joint platform computer. In other words, a PowerPC machine, which would be common from a technology standpoint to both companies. We understand from sources that the discussions are focusing on how to handle the $50 million it'll take to develop the specifications for this common platform computer. Other speculation and rumors say that Motorola may be looking at taking over Apple Computer. Why? Well, Motorola has made a huge commitment to the PowerPC platform. They cannot afford to stumble anywhere in terms of fighting with industry leader Intel and their Pentium-based products. So we understand from rumors that Motorola is prepared and has a contingency plan to step in and support or take over Apple Computer should it become necessary. Of course, these are all just rumors, and we'll have to wait to see how they turn out. Another story floating around is that Lotus development is up for grabs. The word is that because of poor financial results and possible pending layoffs, that Lotus may be a takeover target for either IBM Corporation or from Novell. We'll have to wait and see how that turns out because Bob Frankenberg told us 2 months ago that they were absolutely not negotiating with Lotus for a takeover. We'll keep you apprised right here on Computer Insider.
Computer Insider's Industry Insights has been brought to you by QMS, Seamless Network Printing.
One of the things that worldwide manufacturing is doing now is looking at developing multiple applications for similar technologies. For example, let's say that 5 years ago you went out and bought a television set and plugged your VCR into it or whatever. In the future, not only will you be able to use that unit as a television set, but possibly also as some sort of a video telephone. We were very amazed in our recent trip to Japan how we're seeing multiple applications coming back for the same technology. We managed to track down a videotape which we thought was quite fascinating in that it shows you how you can take a similar traditional product and then put it to many different sorts of applications.
Finished for today?
Yep, I'm finally finished. Yo?
Dad? Where are you?
I'm still in Kitakyushu.
Are you coming home?
Well, I can still catch the last flight. How's the match look tomorrow?
No problem. Today, I got the turnaround goal with the diving header.
Great. Hope tomorrow's good too.
Seats are still available for Flight 106. Your reservation number is 10G. Thank you for your reservation.
We are very amazed with the style of technology that we saw. In fact, it took us back into the mid-'80s when John Scully at Apple Computer came out with a whole series of videos to tell us where he thought technology was going to. We thought some of the technology looked a little far-fetched, for example, rolling out your LCD screen, but in fact, with thin film transistor technology, this is a reality today. Other things we thought needed a little bit of work had to do with the ability to transmit or to have a wireless video telephone. But I'm sure with pending data compression technologies and whatnot, it will be a reality at some stage of the game. Speaking about realities, we have our Fax on Demand system all set for you. It's there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, a freebie service from Computer Insider. All you have to do is call in from your fax machine to the first number on the screen, select the daily newsletter, and it'll be loaded back down to you. Also, we'd like to hear from you and what you're doing with your computer technology, so drop us a note to the fax mailbox. We'd like to see what kind of technology you're using, how you're implementing it, and maybe even how it's changing your life and the lives of those people around you. Coming up, we're going to be looking at the problems associated with software and the stealing of software, as we'll be speaking with Stephen DeWitt from CAS, that's the so-called software police here in Canada, on Computer Insider.
If you want to attract more business, you've got to work together. We all have our own special visions of where we want to be and how we want to work, wherever we are. At AST, we build computers to meet your worldview with award-winning products, service, and support. From notebooks to super servers, AST Computer. You'll like the way we work.
Today's marketplace demands more information delivered faster than ever before. D-Link helps make that happen. D-Link manufactures network interfaces. D-Link connects computer systems with bridges and routers. D-Link writes network management software. D-Link manufactures computer networking and internetworking products to bring this world closer together. D-Link Corporation.
When John Nagy joined CompuServe, he was new at computing and an old hand on the mountain. He joined to get more out of his computer and more out of life. On CompuServe, as on the mountain, there was always something to discover, like the solution to a software problem that wasn't in the manual, or being one of the first to know about that special vacation spot and how to save time and money getting there. The mountain was a source of satisfaction he would never outgrow, in a way a lot like CompuServe. For more information, call 1-800-554-4088. Start with the basics, news, travel, and encyclopedia, and more for just $8.95 a month. Then go beyond for free software and help with hardware and software problems. You'll get more out of your computer and more out of life. CompuServe, the information service you won't outgrow.
When we look at computer technology, very often we think of a word processor or a spreadsheet or a database or some very techie-type programming or something. But there's many more aspects to technology that we have to become aware of in order to properly use the technologies. The biggest single change we're seeing comes in the realm of what we call multimedia. In other words, where we can have images, sound, text, all work together to help us learn to do different types of things. We had an opportunity to visit with the Peel Regional Police to see how they're using modern technology that not only sits down and helps police officers determine what the best action is in any circumstance, but also is a key component in the developing of safe programs.
What we're doing is delivering programs that are computer-based, training programs to the officers on our department. The two programs that we've developed to date deal with the use of force and pistol transition. And what we're trying to do is put the officers in different situations that they may encounter out on the road, on their regular day-to-day activities, see how they react, give them some information, apply that information, and then train them in that method.
This is our main menu here in regards to the force model. It has 5 different components, and one of the areas which I'm going to look into is regarding to the use of OC spray. On this screen here there's 5 different scenarios, and you can answer each one of the scenarios, to which I'm going to be answering on the first question.
You and your partner attend a local tavern in response to an unwanted guest incident. The party is described as male, extremely large, violent, and intoxicated. Upon arriving at the tavern, physical attempts to control the resistive male are negative. Your response is?
At this point, then you have the response selections that are provided through A through E. The officer then can take the time to read each of the appropriate responses and make a decision which one would be appropriate for the situation.
Overall, what we try to do with organizations such as Peel Police is to help them find the set of tools and technologies that'll best let them do what they're trying to do in terms of training in this particular case. We work together with them to try to find the best marriage of technology to achieve their goals.
When I talk about proving a pistol safe, what I'm talking about is to inspect the firearm to see that there's no ammunition in the firearm and to satisfy myself that no one will be injured by this firearm in the condition that it is. To prove the firearm safe, I have to pick the firearm up, keeping it pointed in a safe direction with my finger away from the trigger.
We were introduced to Peel Regional Police in this training project approximately 6 months ago. At the time, we took a look at the technology they were using and suggested the addition of other technologies that would take them another step forward in terms of their training. We made recommendations to new and improved software packages, different hardware platforms, and the use of new CD-ROM technology as opposed to Laserdisc, which makes their capabilities to deliver training much more portable, much less expensive, and inherently will give them the capability over a longer term to achieve their goals, I guess, in a more appropriate fashion.
What I'm doing is I'm actually listing the parts of the pistol and lining them up with the lines that are appropriate.
What we try to do within the program is give the officers the actual behaviors that they may be confronted with and the actual response options that they are permitted to use under the law.
Through my high school and university days, I worked with the Toronto Harbour Police in terms of a land sea rescue capacity. And a couple of things that struck me looking back at those years in land sea rescue were there were two elements to understand. First is what is the proper procedure to do. If you're involved in an arrest or a rescue or whatever, you have to know what the right procedures are as dictated by police codes and by the law. Computer multimedia technology is excellent at helping officers understand those circumstances because you can develop any number of different scenarios and test the officer's knowledge of the understanding of what to do in those specific circumstances. The other area that was critically important is how to react in any certain circumstance. That's something that comes with experience, and hopefully we have enough people with enough years of experience on the police forces to be able to help the younger officers get through those circumstances. Speaking about getting through things, we have our Fax on Demand news service available for you. It's good 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Also, if you have any information to pass on to us, drop us a note to our fax mailbox. That's the second number you see on the screen. Coming up, we're going to be having a look at what they call object-oriented programming, right here on Computer Insider.
Only Sharp Presentation Systems deliver the winning combination. Don't miss your next opportunity. Get the Sharp Edge. From a family of incredibly vivid computer projection panels to our convergence-free LCD projectors, you too can have multimedia presentation power like never before. Up to 16 million colors in computer, video, or combined. Sharp Presentation Systems and you, the winning combination.
Computer Insider's radio reports can be heard 4 times daily on 680 News. Bob Pritchard brings you the latest computer news and information highlights from Canada's award-winning technology report. Be sure to watch Computer Insider's Files, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday mornings at 6:40 on Canada AM and at 11:28 p.m. immediately following the CTV National News.
When John Nagy joined CompuServe, he was new at computing and an old hand on the mountain. He joined to get more out of his computer and more out of life. On CompuServe, as on the mountain, there was always something to discover, like the solution to a software problem that wasn't in the manual, or being one of the first to know about that special vacation spot and how to save time and money getting there. The mountain was a source of satisfaction he would never outgrow, in a way a lot like CompuServe. For more information, call 1-800-554-4088. Start with the basics, news, travel, and encyclopedia, and more for just $8.95 a month. Then go beyond for free software and help with hardware and software problems. You'll get more out of your computer and more out of life. CompuServe, the information service you won't outgrow.
The computer industry wants you to know that in the mid-90s you can sit down and develop your own computer programs, or databases if you will. The tools are available and they're very easy to use. So what I want to do today is to take you inside a relational database called Access so you can see how to build your own relational database. To get in, we double-click on the icon and it'll load itself up. The first important issue to remember when we're working on our databases is that we have to give it a name. Because this is a test database, I'm simply going to call it test. The other thing to keep in mind is that we're going to use built-in automated functions to make this as easy as possible for us to build up the database so that we won't have any or too many mistakes when we get it all finished. To do that, what we're going to do is use wizards, which prompt us for all the various elements that we need to make the database work. The first thing it's going to tell us about over here are the different types of tables we have. Then over here in this box are the various fields that are associated with the tables. I know it's confusing if you're not a database programmer as to what these things mean. The manuals explain it fairly well, and there's some excellent third-party books on the marketplace you might want to look to using the database of your choice. What we've done here is we've selected a personal database, we've selected the file, and well, we could select which of the fields we want to use, but rather than getting all complicated with it, I think what we're going to do is simply go in and, well, there's a button over here which has to do, this one right here, let's click on it, down, there we go. What this has done is it's selected all of the fields that have to do with that specific table. The bottom line here is it's built the whole thing for us in an automated way so we didn't have to worry about it. It's now going through various other aspects of what we need to know about building the table. Things like relationships and forms, whether we want it to build an entry form or we want to use a standard table form. Again, some of the terminology is a bit confusing if you're not into database programming, but it doesn't take a lot of reading and work to get up to speed on it. 30 minutes a day of work on your computer will have tremendous positive results. In fact, what we have here right now is an automated form built for the table we just laid out. We didn't have to know any programming or any technicalese to be able to get this program to build the table for us. One of the things I wanted to show you, because maybe we don't like the layout where the fields are on the screen, so we have options. We can come up over here into our menuing section, and we can tell the computer we want to modify what's going on. So we'll just click on the button. Can we do that, please? Thank you very much. It's going to switch over from an entry mode down into an edit mode so we can move the fields around to put them where we want them within the system. Now, as you can see, each field has a name, and this is where the data goes here. And all of these fields can be moved by simply clicking on them, and we're just dragging them up. Let's drag up a couple so we can have a look at them. Move this one up over here. Okay. Also, we have the option, when we're working with this program, to again use the built-in functions. When I first started doing database programming in the early 80s, it was critical that you understand the code and how things were laid out. It took hours and hours and hours of work to be able to get things to line up and to make it easy for people to put data into the system. In the mid-90s, these jobs are mostly automated. We can simply go up into our menu bars up in here and select various options. For example, we could go down and select a series of fields. Why don't we do that? We can select some of these fields here, and we go back up here, and we can come down to align, and then we can align it top or bottom, left or right. And it moves all the fields within the grouping that we were working on into the areas that we wanted to work with. Database management and programming has come a long way from the years and years and years ago when we spent weeks and weeks and weeks getting basic stuff done. Let's go back over and talk about the technicalese of the whole system. One of the important things to remember in working with your relational database is memory is all important. Look to at least 16 megabyte if you want to build a really robust system. Speaking about robust systems, we have our fax on demand system all set for you. That's the first number on the screen. Remember, call from your fax machine. Coming up, we're going to be looking at computer piracy right here on Computer Insider.
Two days until the presentation. Plenty of time to pull it all together.
Hi, Marcy. Sorry, the deadline moved up 24 hours. See you in the morning.
Looks like a long night ahead. With her AST computer, she'll make it on time. AST Computers in support for a winning performance. From notebooks to super servers, AST Computer. You'll like the way we work.
Today's marketplace demands more information delivered faster than ever before. D-Link helps make that happen. D-Link manufactures network interfaces. D-Link connects computer systems with bridges and routers. D-Link writes network management software. D-Link manufactures computer networking and internetworking products to bring this world closer together. D-Link Corporation. Computer Insider is brought to you by Maxell. From floppy disks and data cartridges to leading-edge optical disks, Maxell computer products are 100% tested, certified, and guaranteed. At Maxell, high performance runs in the family.
Today on Computer Insider's executive briefing, we're meeting with Steve DeWitt from Symantec Canada, but more than being just Symantec Canada, Steve is also representing CAST, which is the Canadian Association Against the Theft of Software. Now, what CAST is all about is to work with companies to help them not steal software. It sounds almost like a basic contradiction, but the reality is that a lot of people are very unclear as to what software theft is all about. We'll get more into that in our editorial section later in the show, but Steve, I was wondering if you could start off by giving us the boundary between what you can do when you buy a package and when you start stealing software.
Well, that's a good point, and I think there is certainly an informal attitude towards software and software copying that does kind of create a vague border between what is legal software and what is illegal software. Really, the bottom line is this: copying software is illegal. The Canadian Copyright Act, when it was amended in 1988, states now that software is a literary work, just as a book is a literary work. And unauthorized duplication of software is illegal. In fact, earlier this year, as a matter of fact, that same law was amended to include the fact that renting computer software is now illegal. Obviously, there are situations where, certainly as a manufacturer, Symantec, we do not copy protect our software, for example, so that when you do purchase one of our products, you do have the opportunity to make a backup copy of our software, which we suggest you do for safekeeping purposes. But it's one of the primary focuses, if you will, of what CAST does, is to teach people that informal copying or sharing computer software from you and your friend or between people within an organization is illegal.
One of the things that a lot of people have mentioned to me, Steve, is the fact that when you people turn around and go out and raid somebody or get a conviction, there's a large amount of money that starts changing hands, and you guys are starting to get almost a reputation of being the software police, that this is some sort of a profit center for the software industry.
Well, I'd have to take exception with a couple of points there. It is not CAST's mandate to be a profit center. Any of the monies that are recuperated as a result of legal actions that CAST has taken are put back into CAST to further a number of our educational initiatives. As I mentioned before, I really must drive home the fact that the key focus of CAST is to educate and to work with not only the end user community but also the corporate community to better understand the Canadian copyright law structure. We do have a very positive and ongoing working relationship with the RCMP and with the Crown Magistrate in general, and we will very much aggressively pursue additional changes to the Canadian Copyright Act which need to be implemented to protect the viability of our industry. There are a number of statistics that are bantered back and forth about what levels of computer piracy we're facing in the market today. And I think the number that we tend to settle on in Canada is around 63% of the software that's out there is pirated. And that's a staggering amount, and the impact of that is very much far-reaching.
Steve, I was wondering, we hear a lot of people discussing the use of bulletin board systems and their role in downloading copyrighted software. Two areas that spring to mind from my standpoint have to do with the U.S. First Amendment rights, in other words, the right to have freedom of expression. And the other question which really bothers me is, who's responsible when a user downloads software? Is it the operator of the bulletin board system? Do they have some sort of a connection between the illegal action of a user? Or is the user themselves responsible for the actions?
Again, that's a very good point, and a very common way that software is pirated is by being downloaded from bulletin board services. Bulletin boards are a tremendous value to the end user and corporate community. At Symantec, we have our own customer bulletin board, which is used regularly. Most major software manufacturers utilize them. There are a lot of very positive bulletin board services that are out there. Again, there's a fine line between legal and illegal activity, and I think in some of the bulletin board cases that CAST has been involved in, the situation has been one in which a business or a BBS operator was either charging for membership on a bulletin board, and that charge or that fee for membership gave people access to software which they could then download. Or there were other situations where people were actually being just straight out charged for software they were being downloaded or that they were downloading. In fact, there have even been situations where people, in order to download software, were required to upload software. And I think that, again, it all comes back to people better understanding what copyright laws exist out there. Safe to say, if you do go up onto a bulletin board system and you do have the opportunity to download software, that act is illegal. And certainly we spend a great deal of time investigating bulletin boards. Certainly we will make every effort possible to work with a bulletin board to keep themselves legal. We've always maintained that position, and I think we'll continue to do so because bulletin boards are too valuable of a service in general.
Indeed, the whole situation of software and software theft is a very complicated issue. In fact, Steve, we're going to be addressing it in our editorial in just a moment. And again, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
Stephen DeWitt is with Symantec Canada and has been speaking with us today on behalf of CAST, the Canadian Association Against the Theft of Software. Coming up, you'll have an opportunity to pick up our daily fax newsletter. All you have to do is dial from your fax machine to the first number on your screen and then download the information to you directly. Coming up, my comments on software theft on Computer Insider.
This top marketing executive prepares himself for the demands of today's business with his new Sharp electronic organizer. He has accelerated to the top through careful planning and organization, but he doesn't keep it all in his head. Instead, his competitive advantage is at hand. Always with him, ready with the information most needed, and sometimes with what's needed most. Sharp electronic organizers.
Computer Insider's radio reports can be heard 4 times daily on 680 News. Bob Pritchard brings you the latest computer news and information highlights from Canada's award-winning technology report. Be sure to watch Computer Insider's Files, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday mornings at 6:40 on Canada AM and at 11:28 p.m. immediately following the CTV National News.
I wish it weren't so, but I do think many of the attitudes we have about computer-based software and piracy come from within the computer industry itself. Way back when I first started working in the computer industry, we had to buy chips to go into the computer to allow us to use the application software. This was the software manufacturer's way of trying to keep people from stealing the applications. All that happened was an entire industry sprung up that did nothing more than duplicate illegal chips so that people wouldn't have to buy the legitimate software. In other circumstances, we saw manufacturers bundling software onto the hard disk. Again, users' perceptions were that the software had little or no value. That's not the case today. The entire industry has shifted away from being a hardware or iron-based type of industry to being an application or goal-oriented industry. As a result, our main players in the computer industry are software houses. Our attitudes also have to be brought into line to what's happening, because if we don't get a handle on using legitimate software, there's more than a financial loss that happens in the discussion. The worst thing that can happen to you as a user of illegal software is that you get caught by the police. If that should happen, you will be charged under Canada's Copyright Act. Also, you should be aware that there are other downstrokes to pirated software. First of all, they may contain computer viruses. Secondly, typically, pirated software doesn't come with the manual, so when you go to use the application, you're only going to be as good at using it as you can be from going through the menuing system. And the other aspect you have to keep in mind is you don't have access to the customer support lines. If something goes wrong, you cannot pick up the telephone and ask somebody how to solve a certain problem. Please, be careful with the software. I'm Bob Pritchard, Computer Insider.
Computer Insider has been brought to you by AST Computer. You'll like the way we work. Sharp Electronics. From sharp minds come sharp products.